has more than one royal family.
Welcome back to another episode of Wrestle Dads. I'm Chip. These are my boys, Alex and Parker. Today's episode, we have another first for Wrestle Dads pod. She's an engineer by day, pro wrestling referee by night. She can count to 3 in 4 different languages. That bionic baby girl, Rozie the Ref Jones. Welcome to Wrestle Dads.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
Good. It's our pleasure to have you on. Thank you. And we got a little chant for you. So, boys. Rozie the Ref.
Wow.
Rozie the Ref.
Hey, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So we're going to let Alex kick off with this first question. All right.
Cool.
You just mentioned the multiple languages in the engineering career. That is a very impressive resume. With all that going on, what made you want to become a pro wrestling referee?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I do like to stay busy. It's kind of the one thing that I just like to have multiple things going on in my life, both professionally and also like recreationally. What made me want to become a referee? Well, so I'm not a lifelong wrestling fan. I started actually watching wrestling. I'm not good with WrestleMania numbers. I'm sorry. It's the one that was in New York. It was the one, my first wrestling match ever was Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan for the title. And from that point on, I was just like absolutely hooked. It made a lot of my like family members emotional, and I was really confused. And then around that time frame actually was when AEW started up, and the main referee who kind of got both a lot of praise and a lot of backlash at the same time was Aubrey Edwards, and she was because she's currently full-time reffing and I think also doing project management, but she was a video game engineer, worked in software primarily, and then moved into project management. And I saw myself in her, and I was like, well, if she can do it, then I can definitely do it. So just, and we're kind of in like a golden age right now of like really strong, prominent female refs. It's not really an entirely new thing, but just like them coming to the forefront. Jessica Carr just refed a main event for a premier live event in France. We got Aja Smith. Well, she's actually Daphne LaShawn is her stage name. Both of those are on WWE. We've got Paige, who's in TNA. Allison Lee, who's also in TNA. Aubrey Edwards. Scarlett Donovan, who works on GCW. I just am like kind of surrounded by a lot of really strong, awesome, powerful women who are in the stripes, counting to 3 and getting in the faces of everybody. And so from that, I took a lot of inspiration. That's how I wanted to start.
I love it. We actually have a question about that later on, so I didn't want to cut you off, but
you're good.
Go ahead. Yeah, we'll dive in more of that later on. So Parker.
Trained with Absolute Intense Wrestling out of Cleveland, Ohio. Can you tell us what referee training was like? Do you train with wrestlers, or was it a separate class? And how many people did you train with?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. So my training actually started prior to AEW, or excuse me, not AEW. That's where I want to be. AIW. So I started out at Flatbacks in Orlando. So that's Sean Spears and Tyler Breeze. And that was in 2021. From there, I moved back home to Pittsburgh, which you guys are familiar with. And then about probably 6 months into being into Pittsburgh, I sort of got swooped up by the AIW guys and started training there. So refereeing training is kind of different depending on where you go. At Flatbacks, I did start to train with the wrestlers, just doing basic rolls and bumps and everything like that, and sort of getting a feel for sort of the structure of the ring, how you want to present yourself in front of the camera, how you want to move around the ring in an optimal way for people to see, and also for the wrestlers to feel most comfortable in. Because I had a bit more experience when I went up to AIW, it's very flexible. So they have different days that you can go and train at. So one is sample match day. People run matches that they want to train with other wrestlers with, excuse me. They have endurance day, basically getting your cardio up and your fitness up. They have technique day, which is sort of bettering your technique in the ring, more focused on the wrestlers, but we do have a lot of opportunities where I can get in there and focus on how to count pinfalls very quickly, move around the ring the most quick ways, practicing on my like super slick slides or how to be most loud in the ring. It's a really mixed bag, but I think it really helps for how you want to be versatile, just because there's so many different forms of wrestling, there's so many different styles, body types, and you have to be adaptive to pretty much any situation that you're thrown into.
Yeah, that's awesome. And piggyback off that, I just double check on my notes. You said flatbacks, Sean Spears, and Tyler Breeze's school, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. We met Tyler Breeze out at WrestleMania this year, and he was part of Mania World. So we got pictures. And Father's Day this year, he's actually coming back to Pittsburgh. I think Breezongo's putting on a show at Stadium E or
Enjoy Wrestling.
Yes.
So I was there for a little bit, just like helping out with ring crew and everything. And while I was in Pittsburgh, I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but T2T Pittsburgh or 880 Wrestling in New Kensington.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Our producer and I are thinking about doing that in July, because I'm just trying to get a house for the kids and my girlfriend, and we have 5 kids collecting. So I got a couple things in life I got to make sure are in place, and then I'm going to go after this training, and that's the school that we're actually going to go at in New Kensington. That's awesome that you brought that up. I completely forgot that you're local.
I am.
You know the Pittsburgh area. That's awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I was at 880 for a hot 6 months or something like that. And basically, there was a whole feud that they did, which was Pittsburgh versus Cleveland, just because there's already that rivalry there with the Browns in any other sport. But so Pittsburgh versus Cleveland was my debut show. So the first show that I ever worked was all of the guys, AIW guys versus all of the 880 guys. And so that kind of like solidified me being in the Pittsburgh area, but then also me kind of having that connection with AIW. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. And then you said there was multiple different days. I just want, because I'm like going to make a portfolio after all these interviews and put it all in one notebook. And then the kids have everything that they need to know about wrestling when we're done here. So you had sample match day, endurance day, technique day, and you yourself did basic rolls and bumps to prepare yourself for ring activity, correct?
Can you give me 1 second? The dog is
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Anyway, sorry guys, we're back. So AIW, each school that you go to is going to be quite different. So flatbacks, I'll start out just the differences between all of them. So flatbacks was very they trained under Lance Storm, and Lance Storm's perspective is they throw you into the deep end very quickly, very fast, because if you want to be at that level, which all of them who train there are at, have been on TV, working their way towards TV, all of that type of stuff. You go through like a full body workout, and then you get in the ring. And so they structure theirs in a very in 8 weeks you'll learn how to wrestle type situation. The 880s and the AIWs are very you could be here for a year to 2 years before you make a debut. Forge your time here, and it takes a long time in order to get good. It takes a long time for you to develop the cardio and the skills and sort of the ring awareness and intelligence to get to where you want to be, which is a debut. So they're just different styles, and it kind of you either sink or swim in any given environment, but it just depends on what you're looking for. So AIWs, Mondays there isn't anything on the table. Tuesdays is your sample match day, and then also the later section of it is a beginner's class. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Wednesdays are your technique days, Thursdays are your cardio days, and then Fridays are sometimes open ring. So if you have more advanced wrestlers coming in, or just new students who want to watch the older guard come in and work their magic and learn their craft, those would be the days that you would go for. But that's how AIW is structured.
Right on. And then with that New Kensington, we were briefly going over the website and we saw that it had that open ring that you were talking about, and that caught my eye. I was like, wonder if I can possibly get the boys in there to do some practicing at some point if I get good and show that I'm there for real. Do they do things? Do they do things for kids?
So I believe the state of Pennsylvania, you have to be 18 in order to start to get trained, just because our athletic commission is pretty by the book. It doesn't mean that I haven't seen young kids get up inside of a ring and do a forward roll before, but I think that there definitely does need to be some like supervision involved. But that's all based off of each individual school. So I'm not the law, so I'm not going to tell you.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Everyone's different. I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So we also read that you've done the Bryce Rinsberg and Christ Hero seminars. We've heard really good things about both of those and attending seminars in general whenever they're available. So we even got to meet Bryce while we were out at WrestleCon. That was awesome.
Yeah.
He was giving out free high fives and we got a picture with him. He's awesome. We love seeing him. And so what are some of the things that you took away from his seminar and Chris Hero's seminar that actually helped you in your referee career?
Man, I think it's really important to like attend as many seminars as you can possibly do, just because, especially with like Chris Hero, he has lived so many wrestling lives, whether him being a current producer right now, whether him being a wrestler. He's starting, I believe, the West Coast Pro Training School, or being involved in that in some type of function. And he's seen so many different types of wrestling and been involved in so many. He's done Japan, he's done Mexico, Canada, he's done pretty much everything under the sun, and he's still going. So just being able to like absorb, ask him questions, like get as much knowledge as possible, I think is really important. For Bryce's seminar in particular, I was like just starting out at that time period, but a main during his was like talking about like figuring out what your style as a referee is. There are so many different ones, right? Bryce is very like, he talked about how because he's like shorter in stature, he kind of has to be more explosive with all of his movements to get sort of communicate the idea across, that like he is in charge and can get up in somebody's face. Versus your WWE refs are like very like shoulders back, very like presenting in authoritative positions, more so standing in the back, less character work, but definitely being the authoritative figure in charge. So just like honing in what your particular style as a referee is. I think that actually the best seminar that I did was probably about a month and a half ago, and I did like 6.5 hours with Mike Chioda, and that was an incredible experience because that man was in like, I think had a career for like 30, he still has a career, excuse me, but like a WWE career for like 30 something years, and just the stories that he has to tell, the tricks and different pieces of information that he can sort of give you to help further your career, the connections he can help you build, just all of that information, and like the application of it too, of being in ring, telling you where you should be positioned, all of this type of stuff was just really, really impactful. And I'm going back for a second time with him in about 3 weeks back down in Orlando as well. But yeah, seminars, I can't speak highly enough of them. They really help shape you as an individual and help shape your body of work.
Perfect. And just to go off that a little bit, is he always in Orlando for people who are listening?
I believe he lives in Tampa, but he does seminars. He's currently working, excuse me, a couple of seminars with a promotion. It's called Storytellers in Orlando. And so his next seminar is going to be in about 3 weeks, and that's going to be 2 days. I think both the 28th and 29th. Or 29th and 30th. I apologize. I don't have my calendar in front of me. But he does hold seminars from time to time, and any chance that I go down and I fly there just specifically for those seminars, just because they're so impactful and have helped me a lot.
That's awesome. Now, do they do online? Like, do they do a link? Like, could I watch it from Pittsburgh while he's in Orlando, or no?
I don't think so. I don't think the building is like adequately set up for Wi-Fi, unfortunately. But yeah, you do have to attend in person in order to sort of get that experience. But they do welcome newcomers for the first time. So we had like 2 or 3 guys who their first ever pro wrestling experience was doing a Mike Chioda seminar, which is A, takes a lot of bravery, but also B, is like, that's really cool. That is like your first experience of pro wrestling is learning from an absolute legend and a GOAT. It's crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, as mentioned in the intro, you speak 4 different languages: English, Spanish, Japanese, and Korean. What kind of advantage does that give you as a referee while working with international talents? And what made you decide to continually expand your vocabulary?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I've worked 2 different shows where 2 of those languages have come in handy. And then another opportunity where you just are able to make connections a lot easier because I am not fluent. Like my only sort of fluent language I would say is English, but I did study excuse me, Spanish for 7 years in both high school and college, and did a couple of overseas trips with those. I've been to Korea twice, and I'm about to make my first trip over to Japan in September. But just the ability to like help communicate with outside talent. I have a story that kind of shows how useful those tools are. So I was in Cleveland with AIW for a show that was in March. It was called Tougher Than Leather was the show, and it had Microman on it. So Microman is a 3 foot tall. Yes,
We love Microman.
Microman's the dude. He is so cool. So he was on the show Tougher Than Leather, and he does not speak a lot of English, if at all. And the joys of pro wrestling is you can kind of, the inside curtain here, you can kind of like like wrestling is a universal language. And so just by like mimicking movements or these basic terms that kind of everyone knows, wrestlers can kind of put a match together. But in our group chat with AIW, they say, hey, does anyone speak Spanish? Because Microman doesn't speak English. And I was like, I studied a little bit of it. So in like 45 minutes, I brought back my Spanish and helped call a match with like a scramble with like 5 other guys. And then Microman like followed me on Instagram. We were talking, and it sort of helped me go to other promotions that he thought I might be useful at, which was really, really helpful. I also was in Philadelphia for WrestleMania, and there was a promotion that's called Spark Joshi Pro, and they brought in the Stardom girls, or sort of the main Stardom girls. So Mina Shirakawa, Starlight Kid, Azumi, like all of these really awesome Stardom women who I idolize completely. And so just being able to like help run logistics with that, help with translation with that in some regard, lining up everybody for where they needed to be for their matches and their cues, and just the translation between the American promotion and the Japanese wrestlers and wrestlers, referees, and Stardom in general, which is very, very helpful. So yeah, you should pick up as many language skills as possible, because you never know when those will be needed and when you'll be able to utilize them.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you were the only person at the time that could speak Spanish, and because of that, you got to speak to Microman, and that's
he's the coolest. He is so cool. Is just awesome.
I love him. And if I remember correctly, his father used to do this too, and dressed like an orangutan, right?
Mhm.
Like a green monkey, like, or
I
something
believe
like
so.
that.
Yeah.
Now, that Tougher Than Leather, is that still ongoing, or was that just a one-time thing?
That was a one-time show. So AIW tends to run monthly, or if not monthly, maybe once every 6 weeks. So Tougher Than Leather, you can currently view on Fight TV, or now known as Triller. But it had, Danhausen, Effie, Microman, and then a smattering of other AIW people that get brought in addition to sort of homegrown students as well. But I think that was in like March 23rd, something like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, well, I mean, we subscribe to Triller TV, so I'll have to look that up. Is there any more of AIW that's on Triller TV, or is it?
Yes, I think it goes back to, oh God, I don't even know when Triller started, but pretty much every show that I've ever been a part of, and has ever, I would not say has ever happened with AIW, because AIW started in 2001, I believe. But anytime that AIW broadcasts, it's available on Triller TV, and all of the replays are available once they are live streamed.
All right, awesome. We'll have to dive into that. I did not know it went back that far. I apologize. I would have
No,
done
you're
better,
all good.
would have done better research for you. Okay. Parker.
You refed for NJPW, ROH, Impact, and AEW talents. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers you have got to work with?
Oh, great question. Thank you so much. I'll go by a couple of different matches that I really loved reffing. I always love when I get to be in a ring with like a talent who's gone to a higher level, just because like I get to learn a lot more, and also they kind of help me show a little bit more tips and tricks. So there are 3 matches in mind that really stand out. The first one was, excuse me, I got to ref for a promotion that's called Naptown All Pro, which is based in Indianapolis. And it was Josh Crane, who is a Indianapolis-based wrestler, versus Gabe Kidd, who is a part of the current Bullet Club War Dogs. And that was just like, it was the kind of the first time that I was in a ring with just really hard-hitting, sort of New Japan strong style. And I was like, oh man, this is like something that I've never experienced before. And it taught me a lot about like the intensity and sort of the storytelling involving perseverance, sort of in that whole style. So that was the first one where I was like, wow, like this is very hard hitting. This is fast. This is really intense, a really passionate style of wrestling. So the second one was in an AIW ring in the beginning of March, and it was TNA Impact star Zaya Brookside versus Gabby Forza, who is based out of Creative Pro in Long Island. That was sort of the first time where I saw like women's wrestling and the storytelling that can involve in that, just like the different body types and sort of, you have a very strong, huge bodybuilder, like current female football player in Gabby Forza, with Zaya Brookside, who has been training basically all of her entire life under her father, Robbie Brookside. And she's fast and more so flippy than the others. And so just the two different styles and the story that they could perform off of that was really impactful to see. And then finally, about two or 3 weeks ago, time is an illusion when you're working a lot of different shows. I was up in Canada versus Joey Janela, and that was really, really, that was so cool. That was the first time I got to be in a ring with 2 guys who have been on TV, and for Matt, actively on TV. And so just like the way that they structured their match, the way that they were communicated with each other, the way they communicated with me, it was just really impactful to see, and made me kind of want to aspire to like a higher level of my career. So yeah, those are kind of my top talent that I've worked with so far.
All right, perfect. Now I noticed you kind of paused there during the video. So Joey Janela versus who? What was that number?
Matt Riddle.
Oh, Matt Riddle. We just saw him on Friday. We were out at Altoona, PA for Big Time Wrestling. We had.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He's crazy because who he is as a person is the same as like who his character is. Also, just like that was a match of incredible hair. Like they just have long, flowing, incredible hair, and so anytime like they would do flips or something, the hair would go whoosh. So it was really cool.
What company was that for?
That was with Destiny Wrestling. It's up in Oshawa. Yeah.
Sorry, I try to keep good notes when we have guests on. So Destiny Wrestling, gotcha, in
You're good.
Oshawa. All right, Alex.
You break down the responsibilities of the referee during a professional wrestling match.
Of course. Yeah. So, first and foremost, so a referee is there to enforce the rules of a match. So making sure if it's just a standard singles match, you want all of the action to be kept inside the ring. You want there to be clean rope breaks in case those do in fact happen. You want guys to be able to protect themselves, and if they can't do that anymore, you will have to call a match off. Making sure there's like good sportsmanship that's happening, and enforcing that as best as you possibly can. Making sure that, you know, no shenanigans are happening, no foreign objects, any of that type of stuff is occurring. Just basically making sure that it's like a clean fight. Everyone's abiding by the rules. From an outside the rules perspective, our roles do end up changing based off of like where we end up going. Some promotions I am like certified in Red Cross first aid and severe trauma. And so I come with a medical bag in tow. If people get hurt, then I'm the one who's kind of making them stop bleeding or giving them an ice pack, checking for concussions, helping them out in any way possible, just because it's a contact sport. People do end up getting hurt, whether that be on purpose or not. And so just being in charge of making sure that people's health and safety are kept in regard. Thirdly, we are the communication of how long a match will go. So making sure that, you know, if it's the 30-minute contest, that they are staying as close to that time as possible. And in making sure that they are aware of their times, that they how much time they have left, how much time has gone by, all of that type of stuff. And then finally, I would say, and this isn't really a part of the exact job description, but I think a part of it, if action does go to the outside, we just make sure that all of the fans who are involved are kept safe and aware of all of the action that may or may not occur on the outside of the ring. Just making sure that there's a fantastic story I had. I went to go work up at Greektown Wrestling, which was in Toronto, and Wes Barkley is one of our AIW guys. He made the great decision, I say great loosely, of coming out in a Bruins jersey in Toronto territory, and someone threw, I kid you not, an entire pepperoni pizza at him. So because he came out in a Bruins jersey and they knocked the Maple Leafs out of the playoffs because of that. So the fans were very angry, but just making sure that, you know, don't throw things at the wrestlers. Like, we understand that they do mean things, but like just making sure people don't get hurt, or things don't get out of control. Or also, like, sometimes I have work shows where wrestlers take dives on the outsides and do end up hitting fans. And so just making sure, like, are you okay? Like, do you need any help? Like, are you all good? Just like, you're kind of the oh my goodness, what's it called? The ring, not Gunther or Walter, whatever you like to call him, but like the ring general. You're making sure that everyone who is involved in this environment is safe and possible. I like to say that we are like the coolest head.
I love it. Yeah, the referee always catches my eye during the match. And just to piggyback off that, just one question: with the Red Cross first aid thing, is that a requirement for some of these, or?
It depends state by state. So there are some sports commissions that require you to get licenses. I know Kentucky is one of those, and I think Washington is another one. It's so not really a requirement in order to get certified, but it is a big help. A lot of times, unfortunately, sports commissions require things that are outside of the budget of some of these promotions. And so how to go around those huge costs is have somebody there who is either a wrestling fan who's also an EMT, shout out Jeremy at AIW, or they have somebody who has the medical knowledge and has undergone the training in order to help keep everybody safe. So I'm one of those people. But I believe there are certain states who do require, those certain certifications or licenses in order to be a part of pro wrestling in their state. But for Pennsylvania and for Ohio, it's not required.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, I just got to ask, do you get more money or any extra perks for that? Or is it just because you have that you can do the venue?
I will say that my rate did go up after getting those certifications because it's not a commonality. You do have some people who are road warriors of the game and, they've worked in the industry a very, very long time. And so they will bring a medical bag in order to help out. But when you have somebody there who is doing a job already, and then they have this expertise, it's a very easy pitch to be like, here's why you should book me additionally, because I provide 2 services for one. So yes, I'll say yes.
Awesome answer. Thank you. Parker?
Have you ever been part of a match where someone got hurt, and what was your responsibility as a referee in that situation?
Yeah, it's happened a lot, unfortunately, but that's kind of the sacrifice that wrestlers put their bodies through in order to put on a good performance.
Alex?
Has there been anything you have had to do that you would have never expected you'd have to do while reffing?
Ooh, let me try and understand your question. Is there anything that I've had to do while reffing that I never expected would have happened? Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
The wording on that might have been confusing, but that is what we're, anything
It's all
that,
good.
what was the most unexpected thing, I guess, that ever happened to you while reffing?
Oh my God. I don't know if you guys know about death matches at all. You guys know anything about death matches?
Yeah, we love GCW.
Okay.
Yeah, we love that. This one's huge on John Moxley.
Oh yeah? Hey,
Yeah.
John's a great dude.
Yeah, we love death matches.
Yeah. One thing that's about death matches is that you don't really anticipate, especially for death matches that involve light tubes, you don't really anticipate how the shatter of the light tube is going to fall. And so there was a particular time where, and you need to be trained effectively in how to properly throw those. People are just like, oh, I want to be a death match wrestler, and so I'm just gonna, throw these things at these people willy-nilly, and that makes me a death match wrestler. And that's really not it. Like there's a lot of proper training and a lot of mistakes that can be made with deathmatch wrestling. And like props to GCW, they have deathmatch wrestling to a T. There's a reason why they run the Showboat up in New Jersey every year. I think that's happening this weekend, by the way. Like they have taken the proper precautions for that. All of the guys they use are properly trained. They're all professionals. So yeah, but how do I best say? When you're dealing with light tubes, you want to be able to throw them in a way that the shatter falls down and not flies across at other people. And so one of those instances was when a piece of shrapnel flew through the ropes towards some fans. And thank God no one got hurt, but it was very scary for a moment where once the match ended, we just had to check in and be like, is anyone hurt? Does anyone need help? Are you guys okay? Type of a thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, we actually got to see our first death match live for GCW. My Name Is out in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
And you are correct. Actually, Effie and Mance Warner have a cage match for GCW today.
Tonight. Oh, it's that big one. I might have to tune in for that, honestly, because I was at GCW in Chicago two-ish weeks ago, and like they want to kill each other. They really do. Like this is real.
It's very
So,
believable. Like I've been following GCW for a little over a year now, and Effie caught my eye from the very beginning. And this little feud with Mance is just awesome. So
yeah.
the fact that you brought up death matches, I was like, heck yeah. Who doesn't like a death match? Like now, my girlfriend's not my favorite. Like when she watches it, she's like, I don't really like the screwdriver stuff. But I'm like, I get it. But it's like the story behind it. And she's like, oh, I get it. Like it's awesome. But I'm like, it is a little brutal. But the
Yeah.
kids love it.
I mean, I think I am personally a big fan of like hardcore matches because those guys like that's just kind of a cathartic experience for them. Like they kind of really want to put their bodies on the line and tell this like very graphic, some people find it very squeamish and like, oh, that's too much, like violent type of wrestling, but they tell beautiful stories with it. Sometimes the most graphic things are the most beautiful and the most heartbreaking. So
yeah. And we can contest with this little story. We actually got a piece of glass. My producer, he was sitting in the second row of that and caught a piece of glass. And that Parker, do you still have that?
I'm pretty sure I do. Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite part of that?
My favorite part would be people getting speared through the glass panes and getting a like caught up can just scraped across their forehead.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, at Altoona, at that big time that we were just at, James Ellsworth did a hardcore match. Had a cheese grater and like went across the guy's forehead and all that. Like, yeah, we like hardcore matches. That's
They do
awesome.
some crazy stuff. Guys, I just got a notification on my computer. I have to plug it in or else it's gonna die. So can you guys give me a second?
Yeah, take your time. Alex. Just kidding. Yeah. My fault. I lost my spot. It's me. Okay. So have you ever had a wrestler get mad at you for something you did in the match, and how did you handle that situation?
Oh, all the time. No, it's what is it? Sometimes there are like faux pas that happen. But something like for me, refereeing is all about self-empowerment or just empowerment in general, right? So like there are a lot of times in life where you say no and people kind of like work their way around your no. They're like, oh, but come on, don't you wanna, or like, you should do this or whatever the heck. No, I'm saying no, and I mean no, and you're gonna respect that no. And so in the context of pro wrestling, refereeing for me is like an empowerment exercise. And so I am the embodiment of the rules. You need to obey them or else this match will get thrown out. This match that you drove 7 hours for is going to be finished. Like, but the thing is like we give context for what's occurring in the ring. And so, yeah, it's really important for me to be able to enforce what I do, enforce what I say. I counted them out, the two guys out of a ring to the count of 10, and then I threw out the match, and they were like, "What the?" And I'm like, I don't care that you drove from Indianapolis for this. Like, I can't, like keep counting until 20. Like, I can't keep doing this. Like, you disregarded the rules. Like, it's the same thing for UFC. If you blatantly disregard the rules, then your match is ended and you're not going to get that $150,000 bonus that you wanted, so it's just it's more so a thing of like wrestlers need to respect their referees for a lot of different reasons, and if they don't understand that, then they're going to have to learn those lessons either with me or with people later down the line.
I like that you said that. Enforce the rules. I'm going to say, as a lifelong wrestling fan, I've seen multiple matches, mostly tag team matches, where the referee just kind of ignores all the rules, doesn't really enforce anything. Like people, I don't even know who the legal person is sometimes. And It's like, all right, referee, do your job. Like,
Right.
do your job. And I'm
Right.
so happy to piggyback off that. It sounded like you do a lot of stuff that's not quote unquote scripted. Like you said, you counted out 2 wrestlers because they didn't go by the rules. That was you.
You know,
That-
I learned that lesson from, so Jake Clemens was a referee with WWE.
Yeah.
And he's at AIW, and he's now like helping head of production, and he's basically head ref. But he was basically like, what is it? Because we give context for what people are doing inside of a ring, you know, if we don't enforce the rules, then it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And the whole point of this is we're telling a story. So we need to set the stage for what's occurring, because if we set the stage properly, then they can go tell these incredible stories and people can, you know, experience the highest of highs or lowest of lows. But when wrestlers try and actively screw you over, it doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit the wrestlers. It doesn't benefit the referees. It doesn't benefit the promotion. It doesn't benefit the fans. So, yeah.
Right on. Have you ever had to get dirty, get your hands on one of these wrestlers before and like really enforce the rules?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh man. I have pushed people over and I have slapped them so far, and I think that's enough for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for answering that. That was improv. That was not part of the script. So thank you. Alex.
What has been your biggest mistake you have made while refereeing, and how did you bounce back from that while the match is still going on?
Oh man. What's been my biggest mistake? I can think of a lot of them. Unfortunately, especially like very early on.
If you can't think of your biggest mistake, what's the one that you seem to it reoccurs
Go
often?
back to.
Yeah.
So actually the Matt Riddle and it's not so much like actually a mistake, but I think of it as a mistake because I'm like a very much a perfectionist type personality. Like I want everything to go well. I want to be able to show my skill set very well and be in a professional manner. But and so the Matt Riddle and Joey Janela match, I basically was trying to keep track of shoulders. And so I was trying to, we were basically like, they were coming towards a corner and like wrestling and grappling and all of this type stuff. And I was basically trying to keep count of where shoulders were and trying to do a pinfall. And they ultimately ended up squishing me. I was like, man, like, God, that really sucks. And they ended up on a rope. So then I had to break it and like do a count for them in order to break from each other. And I was like kicking myself. And I was like, man, like, this is not like, this wasn't good. Like I didn't do my job effectively, all of that type stuff. And I sort of get to the back and I'm like, I'm so sorry to the promoter. I'm so sorry to the guys. And Matt, because he was a UFC guy, he was like, what are you talking about? That was perfect. And I was like, why? And he's like, it's better that way because that's actually like how some UFC fights go. Like if a ref does not get out of the way, they get squished. And like, but it's better that way because it adds a sense of realism to it. And like, also because you're a woman, people are like, there's a little bit more drama involved in that. And so yeah, like it's a mistake that I still kind of like kick myself for, but at the end of the day, it helps tell a more realistic experience, or it tells a more realistic story. It was my realistic experience. But so yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I wouldn't call that a mistake either. Like, I mean, it's just like when you're watching like a horror movie. It's like, what are you doing? Move. You got 2 big dudes coming. Get the heck out of the way. Like,
and like I can protect myself, and I'm a very strong woman. I'm up in the gym, you know what I mean? But like, but yeah, it adds a sense of realism to it. So.
yeah, I love it. That's like my favorite part when they accidentally hit the referee and it's like, oh, did they mean to do that? Because that referee like played it well. Like sometimes they go flying out of
we
the
always
ring.
get made fun of that our bones are made of paper and we die very easily, right? But like when there are things that aren't called like that, and then you end up, I don't know, I've gotten a bloody nose before in a ring. Like there are mistakes that happen, but if you're able to bounce back from them and be able to adapt very quickly on your feet, it helps tell a better story.
I agree. That story inside of the ring is my producer's favorite part about like wrestling. So the fact that you're talking about it is awesome. Parker?
On the opposite side of that, what has been the best experience you've had in wrestling since becoming a referee?
Yeah, I've had a excuse me, pollen. Sorry, guys. I've had a couple of moments where I get to be in the ring for people's debuts, and that's just a very super special moment because you are seeing people's dreams like be realized in an actual moment. Everyone like watches you can see the Olympics and people train for decades of their lives for these moments to win a gold or to be on a podium or to do these fantastic things. Be on a team that wins something. But when you're in a ring for somebody's debut moment, I think the most like satisfying feeling is like as a referee is when you can make someone at ease in a ring, like, and you know them very well, you know their move set very well. You're somebody that they can rely on. And so watching new people debut and getting them, like having them have that moment and you being a part of it with them is just so it's beautiful. But then also like even when they have big matches that they're super nervous about, like being that person that they can rely on is something I take a lot of pride in. Yeah.
Women's refereeing, not only in pro wrestling, but in all sports, is finally becoming the normal. What does it mean for you to be a part of that? And who are some of the people that influenced you on your way?
Absolutely. I think it's all about luck, honestly. It was lucky for me to watch wrestling for the first time at the time that I did, with like genuine earnest and like a genuine amount of like, oh wow, this is incredible. It was really lucky for me to be able to watch like what my first match was, or like for me to start watching wrestling at a time when AEW was starting up. Like all of it is kind of based off of luck, but the difference between, me being in the positions I am and just being a lucky person is the amount of hard work that we put in. And I would say that for any female referee, I think there's a difference between, oh, she's getting this position because she's a woman. Sure, you could make that argument and that's an opinion that you can have, but she's a woman, but she's also had to work, 45 times harder in order to get to the position that she's in. It's not just about, getting this position because of what you look like. It's more so getting it because of people recognizing that you have the talent and the skill set, and that's what separates you from it. And I really think I've learned all of those lessons from like all of the women who have come before me, just because I see like representation is a huge thing for me. I wouldn't think that this possibility would happen if I hadn't seen Aubrey Edwards ref a title match, I think in the first or second AEW, like a world title match in the first or second AEW pay-per-view. I wouldn't think it was possible for the same thing to occur in WWE. I was talking with another fellow like ref of mine, and he was like, oh, what's your goal? He was like, I really want to be this generation's version of Mike Chioda. And I'm like, I just want to be one of the girls. He's like, what do you mean by that? He's like, you are one. And I'm like, no, like I want to be Aja. I want to be Scarlett. I want to be Jessica Carr. I want to be Aubrey. I want to be Paige. I want to be Allison Lee. I want to be Artemis. I want to be, what's her name? Mao in Ice Ribbon. Like there are so many of these like very powerful women who have set the stage for this new wave of female refs to come in, and it also not be like this weird special thing. Like the more that we can have these, have a female ref be normalized, the further we can all go in the long run.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, it's a lot like the term doctor. like
Mm-hmm.
doctor and referee. There's
Yep.
no like gender reveal there. And it's like the old times, like you say doctor, and then a female came in the room. A lot of people would just assume that she was the nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you got the same thing going on right now. And it's like, well, it's a referee. It doesn't matter if it's a girl or a boy, black, white, yellow. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't
Yep.
matter nationality, gender, whatever. You're the referee. Everyone should respect it. And I think it's the ones that actually do what you do that get respected. And we got a question for you coming up about that. So hold on.
Okay.
Alex?
Speaking of other sports, have you ever refed or would you want to ref for any other sports?
Have I ever refed for any other sports? I mean, other than like my middle school days of in practice for softball, pretending to be the umpire, making sure that everything's in the box. Other than that, I haven't. I did when I was in college train to be a flag football referee for a little bit of time, but I had to go and that was only pretty much for a summer because I then went into grad school. But the girl who is I trained with ended up like getting her certification, is now actually starting to do it on like a Texas high school football level, which is incredible for her because that's big time. Like Texas high school football is what you do on Friday and Saturday night. It's huge. So it's not, I never actually made it onto a game, but I love college football. And I also love pro football. Go Steelers. So here we go. But I see a lot of female referees out there, and I'm like, I see you, sis. You got it, baby.
I love it. It's good to see. It's like I said, yeah, I feel like you've belonged the whole time, and for some reason, like time was wrong. Like they waited so long. Like it's awesome to see. Like I love seeing a female referee in the ring. It's good.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wind down this episode, we're gonna loosen up and have a little fun. I got some light, fun questions for you. Some wrestling related, some life related. Are you ready?
Yeah,
All
totally.
right. Perfect. So who was your favorite wrestler growing up, and who's your favorite wrestler now?
Oh, growing up is hard because I didn't watch wrestling growing up at all, right? So I guess I'll go down the like the pipeline of like my fandom and like who I loved. Initially, I think what was it? Man, I think I went from like WWE and premium, like what is premium live events or like pay-per-views. So it started out with WrestleMania, and then I have like slowly been going back into time with that. So then it started with Bayley because she won that year's Money in the Bank. And then going into Bayley, of course, I had to watch Sasha versus Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn. That's like my comfort match. That's still a match that I absolutely adore. And I just go back and watch because the storytelling is incredible. Them in the ring is incredible. The fans' reaction, all of that. From there, I went to Sasha Banks, who is now Mercedes Moné. I adore everything that she does. I worship the ground that she walks on. Don't air this. That's really cringy. I'm so sorry.
I don't have control of that. Sorry.
From there, I started working into New Japan. So Kenny Omega and all the matches he had with Okada was crazy. And then I went to Stardom. I love Starlight Kid. I love Azumi. And then sort of from there, I started working to GCW. And so my current favorite wrestler is Maki Ito because I love the mixture between like cute and kick-ass, like her coming out with Nick Gage and like Maki Death Kill, but it's still MDK. Like it's still MDK, and her coming out with the pizza cutter with the sparkly ribbon on it is everything. It's everything.
So good. Yeah.
It's so good. And like people are like, what is happening? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's wrestling. Like it's just wrestling. It makes sense. So yeah, getting to see her in Philly for like the first time, it's incredible. It is incredible. So yeah, I just love like she's character based, but she can do deathmatch stuff. Like She's really cute, but she could also kill you. Lynn is a really good wrestler. Like, it's all of that combination. Everything wrapped in like a sparkly bow is like what I love.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of her, and I like Masha Slamovich for like
Masha's
pretty
awesome.
much for the same reason. Like she can do
Yes.
both. Yeah, she's awesome. All right, Parker.
What is your go-to song to get ready for a big match?
Oh man. A go Spotify. I'm gonna
What's
pull up my
that?
Spotify real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Or like, what's your like? Any pre-match rituals? I guess we'll switch that question to.
Yeah, so always have to stretch. I need to do that. I need to get my body warmed up and ready, just because, we're not like doing flips and crazy things, but we are moving a lot and doing a lot of, like, I would say we do probably up to, I don't know, 120 semi-adjacent burpees a show. And so, utilizing your core strength and your quads and your hamstrings and everything that's involved in your also your upper body as well. Like, you just need to be able to keep up with everything. So that's one of them. I do my makeup so I can look cute. I like to put on perfume because locker rooms tend to be sweaty and gross and I want to smell good. That's kind of it from all of the pre-show ritual perspective. A song that I have been really like tuning into recently is something that's called Tunnel Vision. It's by Russ and Bibi Borelli. And it's basically just talking about, like, these are all of the things that, like, I want to do in a year's time, and I want to hone into that tunnel vision to be the best version of myself because I have a higher purpose. So I think it's got a little bit of gospel to it. It's got a lot of rap to it, but it's just a very simple, like, this is what I've been destined to do. This is my higher purpose. I'm going to feel comfortable about where I am and my growth and all of that. So that's a song I've been really honing into.
Gospel rap. I like it.
Gospel rap.
Alex.
Nick Patrick, Earl Hebner, or Charles Robinson?
Oh my God. Oh no. This is so terrible. Can I pick Mike Chioda? No, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I'll probably go with Charles just because he did that really epic run down the ramp to slide into the ring in order for the title shot to happen. And that's like a classic meme. And also I think he's up there with Chioda, where he has, like, they put in a really big match to have happen, and it's always Charles in the ring, just because they know that he can deliver. And I think that's something that, like, all referees want to, like, aspire to, is, like, be relied on for the most intense moments and the most important moments out of the entire year. So I'm gonna go with Charles. I'm so sorry, Hebner. I'm really sorry.
I like that answer. Charles Robinson would have been my answer too. His long blowing hair, like, it's amazing. Like, at his age, it's surprising that it's still that beautiful.
Right.
Like, I'm sure he's had some help, but
Yeah.
that's a great answer. I would have chose Charles Robinson myself.
Thank you.
Let's figure out your sense of humor. Family Guy, Simpsons, South Park, or Bob's Burgers? Bob's Burgers?
Bob's Burgers.
All right. We love Bob's Burgers. It's very funny. It's one of our favorite shows. That's awesome. Good answer. Parker?
Favorite TV show you can watch on repeat?
Ooh. There is a TV show that was on, and this is dating me. Oh my God, I'm only 28. My mom and I on Tuesday nights would watch. Oh my goodness, it was like America's Next Top Model, Gossip Girl, and then a show that was on the WB, Warner Brothers Network, called Veronica Mars. And it's probably a bit too old, at least for your two sons right now, but it's basically a murder mystery it's kind of like Nancy Drew, but put it in like Long Beach, California in 2002. And basically she has to like solve the murder of her best friend over the course of season 1, and then there's season 2 and season 3. But the humor is fantastic, the soundtrack is incredible, the writing is great, and I just really looked up to her like as a role model in like she could do everything. She could like hack into the school's database and system. She could go on surveillance missions with her big bulldog that could attack anyone if they tried to screw with her. And she, but she like also struggled with like who she was an individual, trying to get into college, her love life, all of that type of stuff. And I could watch those 3 seasons like repetitively, like over and over again.
I love it. I was more of a Harriet the Spy when I was growing up.
I can understand.
Yeah,
I played a lot of Nancy Drew click games and like the CDs. Yeah, there's a new one that just came out and I really want to get it. So I'm probably going to log on to Steam at some point in the next couple of weeks and get it.
Yeah, Nancy Drew stuff's pretty good. I like a good mystery. Alex?
Beach, hike, amusement park, or quiet night in?
Oof. Oh, that's a hard pick. It's a really good question because I like to joke that like a lot of people in the wrestling industry like are the most boring people you'll see outside of wrestling shows, just because we have like so much travel and so much performing that's going on during our weekends that like I'm really lucky that my day job can like allow me to like work remotely at home. Don't tell my boss, sometimes in bed. Like it's just I can be chill as much as I want. But if I like say I wasn't working a weekend, 3-state, 1,500 miles tour, I would probably say amusement park. I am gonna go down to Orlando in a couple of weeks just to go see my girlfriend who works at one of the amusement parks. Because A, we can get in for free, which is really nice. But then also B, like I love Epcot. I love like the Food and Wine Festival, because you can just like casually walk around all of the countries in the world and eat. And it's a very like, you can hop on a ride if you want to. It's a very like relaxing experience. It's not like, I don't know, I feel like at like Hollywood studios, you're constantly overwhelmed and there's so much things happening. And so I like it when it's like a calm experience. SeaWorld's great. I love SeaWorld.
Yeah, SeaWorld is awesome. And with Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Zoo is pretty good too. We're actually waiting for summer to open up and go back and see the new exhibits that have changed from last year and all that. So we're just waiting. We got this is the last week of school, right? Thursday, 4 days, and then we can start having some summer fun.
That's awesome.
Parker?
Horror, action, or comedy movies?
I can't do horror movies. I can't do them. Something about my brain that won't allow me to watch horror movies, just because it really like I can't sleep. I really like it. This is really bad. I hate it. I watched every single one of the Avengers Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then when Endgame came out, like I watched all of them in like not order that they were released, but like chronological order. So like the order in the universe it happened, so then you can like fully catch up to like what's happening at Endgame. So we'll go with action.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that myself, but some of these movies are like 2.5, 3 hours, and like with my ADHD, it's just like, yeah, I got 20 minutes sometimes, or you're losing me. Like, but that chronological order thing, like, yeah, there's like 18 movies now, and if you watch it in order, it's crazy because they came out of order. So like now when you see them, you're like, oh my God. Like that part,
like how did the forethought you must have had to like come up with that entire plot line for it to make sense over the course of like a 15-year release schedule is crazy.
Yeah. And then Alex got one last question for you.
Yeah.
What is your favorite wrestling match of all time?
Oh no. Oh God. This is the worst question. This is the absolute worst question because I will be judged for millennia to come if I say the wrong thing.
Sasha and Bailey. So that doesn't count. You got to pick something.
No, I
different.
can't say Sasha and Bailey because it's too basic. But like it means so much to me. But like it's too much. So I think this is gonna be really weird. This is gonna be a weird answer, but like keep up with me here. So I was in Houston for the 2020 Royal Rumble before the world shut down, right? So when Edge came back, like I was there, dude. It was crazy. But I also went to NXT Worlds Collide, and it was like in the stadium, like the smaller. I think it's American Airlines. I can't quite remember. I think American Airlines is in Dallas. Can't remember the name of the stadium, but it was a smaller one, and then the huge one was at the Royal Rumble. So, and it was my mom's. It was my first WWE show. It was my mom's first like wrestling show ever, and they had a main event that was Imperium. This was before Walter was called Gunther, and versus the Undisputed Era before all of those guys ended up going to AEW. And it was a huge hyped up main event. They had like flown the Undisputed Era over to NXT UK to beat them all up so they could, have this great story told. And probably about 5 or 6 minutes into the match, one of the guys ends up getting knocked out for real. And so they had to change the match on the fly via the referee helping communicate things, like all of this type stuff. And that's like the lowest moment that a crowd can feel is when they're like, oh my God, like, is he okay? Like they had medical crew come out and get him to the back and all of that stuff. And he ended up being okay. But watching them, and I've like watched this over and over again, watching them bring that crowd back up from like the lowest moment possible and like bring them back up to tell a great story that people are invested in. And I won't spoil the ending of it for you, but like that match did so many things for me because it showed the responsibility of the referee in real time. And the communication that's necessary between all of the performers in order for them to like continue the match, showcase the importance of having medical crew at a show and why it's important to keep everybody safe. And then just watching these incredibly talented performers help save a main event and make it become this big, impactful moment for the rest of the show. And like, I can't remember if a lot of those guys ended up being in the Royal Rumble, but like it helped progress the story that was being told, and sort of helped everything end up be okay after that. It took this huge dip in energy. So it's not a great match, if we're being honest. It's not one of these all-time incredible, freaking the Hardy brothers jumping off of the 10-foot ladder, main event of WrestleMania. You got The Rock and The Undertaker and Goldberg and all. Like, it's not Sasha versus Bailey, but it really showcases like the importance of the role of the referee and showcases the importance of like why you need to be adaptable in pro wrestling, why you need to be able to think on your feet, communicate properly, and help, have a collaborative environment that people can put their best foot forward.
Hey, as a referee, I respect it. You like it. I mean, it's your craft. Like, why wouldn't you like that showed that well? I love that answer. And thank you for playing. We like to do like the career thing and lead it up to everybody gets to know who you were back then, but then we like to do the little game to get to know you who you are now. So thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So before we end the show, we'd like to give you the time to promote anything you have going on and where people can find you.
Awesome. Yeah, so you guys can find me on pretty much all socials. Well, 2 socials. I still call it Twitter. It's not X. I refuse to call it that. It's Twitter. It's at Rozie, Rozie, the ref, THEREF. That's on both Twitter and also Instagram as well. On Facebook, it's Rozie Jones, spelled the same way, Rozie, and then Jones, JONES. What have I got coming up? Excuse me. Let's see. There may be an instance where you might see me at a particular show in Chicago that's happening in 2 weeks. I'm not going to drop which promotion that's at, but that's an opportunity that's coming up. I will be at AIW for the rest of the time for this year, whether that be just helping out or maybe being in a ring with a couple of other people. I have shows coming up at Neo Pro in Canton, Ohio, Clash Wrestling in Detroit. What else? I'll be at Enjoy Wrestling for their show Immaculate on June 16th. Yeah, just keep up. I have a lot of stuff going on. Keep up with all of my adventures on my social media. It's kind of too much to keep up with, to promote actively right now. But yeah, go support your local indie wrestling. If you can help support people like me or people that you may see eventually on big stages in the future. It all starts at a local indie level.
Couldn't agree more. I love independent wrestling. And like I said, we just came back from Altoona, and that was awesome. And we can't wait for this Enjoy show that you just said on.
Incredible. It's going to be so good. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better Father's Day present for me to go watch wrestling with my kids. So
yeah.
And it's in Pittsburgh. It's in our backyard. So all right. So thanks again for coming on. Listeners, you can go check out Rozie the Ref Jones on Twitter, not X, at Rozie the Ref. And you can buy her merch at rosietheref.bigcartel.com. And please don't forget to give her a follow and pick up a shirt or a friendship bracelet. You can find us at WrestleDads.com. You can get this shirt that I've been wearing, Tomato Champa, at shop.WrestleDads.com. Spotify.WrestleDads.com will be where you can find all of our audio podcasts. TV.WrestleDads.com. You can find our YouTube channel. And we are WWE Shop affiliated. So if you want to buy any WWE material, please go to our link at www.WrestleDads.com. And the boys have their own social medias. I always like to give them time to plug. So, Alex?
Find me at the Boys A90 on TikTok with the capital T. And please hit that follow button.
And Parker?
You can find me at Parker from WrestleDads, and please punch a hole in that subscribe button.
All right, and thanks again. I'm Chip from WrestleDads and Rozie the Ref. It was an honor to have you on, and we'll keep in touch. Peace.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Thank you. And all right, well, I think that's all we have for you on this episode of Wrestle Dads. You can follow us on Twitter at WrestleDadsPod. For audio purposes, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and iHeartRadio. For video purposes, you can find us on YouTube and TikTok. Just search Wrestle Dads. You'll find us. And if you like what you're hearing, please rate 5 stars and hit that subscribe button. Thank you. Peace.
Scissor me!